India's won the match, their opener at the T20 World Cup, but I know heart of heart you're not very happy, and I understand why. Why? Because India got 161. I'm sure all of you were expecting 250, even 300 runs, right? Maybe that's why. India's won by a healthy margin of 29 runs, but you're not happy. Why? Because you expected a win of 100, 150 runs. All of it because India were playing Minnows USA. And I think that is one of the reasons why, despite a win, a lot of you watching me right now aren't really satisfied or overjoyed. I don't blame you, but I'd like to reverse the scenario. Let's say India's opening match was against New Zealand or Afghanistan, and India won by 29 runs. How would you be feeling? You would have been ecstatic. I would have been happy. All of us would have been saying, perfect start to India's World Cup campaign. But when we look at this win as not a great win or something that is telling us that one or two key ingredients are missing, I would like to put a couple of things in perspective before you analyze this win and don't feel very happy about it. One, because the game was being played in Wankhede, we know it's a belter, so we were expecting those 300 runs. That didn't happen. One of the reasons why we're not feeling great. But a reminder, this wasn't a traditional Wankhede sort of pitch. It was a tricky surface, not that conducive to stroke making as we had seen for the longest time. So that you have to take into account when you analyze the Indian batting performance. It wasn't a flawless batting performance. I'll come to that in a while. But the fact that India got 161, look at the conditions that were on offer. Secondly, it's always a crucial toss to win in Wankhede. Batting second always gets easy. Batting first isn't great. And despite that, India have notched up a healthy win. Third factor, because we see these associate nations rarely, I think what day one has told us is that the gap between associate nations and top member nations is reducing, especially in T20 cricket, which is a very unpredictable format. These teams are also harnessing their skills. They are getting better by the day. You saw that Pakistan, Netherlands, to an extent, Scotland that weren't even ready to participate in this tournament versus West Indies, and India, USA. So that gap is reducing. So next time we analyze these performances, we got to keep that in mind, that there isn't, and USA showed you last World Cup as well, when they qualified for the Super 8s, that the gap isn't as big as we had expected. Now with these things in mind, I want you to relook at this encounter and see how you gauge India's performance. It wasn't ideal, as I mentioned, and let's talk about the man who made this possible single-handedly. 84 not out, Suryakumar Yadav, a knock for the ages. What I loved about it was, he is a naturally aggressive batter. For him to go against his grain and be a accumulator and anchor to begin with was, his experience really coming out. It's his experience that gave him that, firstly, the mental fortitude that was needed at that time, and also the kind of game that he needed to play. I think all down to his experience, and he used it to the maximum, and that is what helped India. And then towards the end, some of those shots that he played, absolutely ridiculous. It's not the first time he's done that, but the shots that he were hitting outside the off stump, low full toss, a go-to ball by the bowler. He knows that 9 times out of 10 a batter can't hit it. You made the field also like that with those full tosses outside off stump in mind, and yet he was flicking it towards deep square leg as well as deep fine leg. Absolutely incredible batting, and that is what has made India win this first match. That will also draw attention to the rest of the Indian batting lineup, and the first thing that people will say, oh, see, this approach going aggressive all out is not going to work all the time, it will backfire. While I agree that ICC tournaments bring with it a different kind of pressure, and not every game will be as high scoring as a bilateral game, so our expectations will definitely need to come down. Having said that, I wouldn't want this Indian team to change their approach. I like that aggressive approach. It's one of those rare days when people fail, but I think this is also a day that should reinforce that belief that you need to play aggressive, because what this team is showing that even with that aggressive, when it works out, they're going to get 300 runs. When it doesn't work out, they have batters that can, fall back on and get you a competitive total. Surya Kumar Yadav has done it today, and when with 8 proper batters, you can afford to do that. I mean, I go back to Asia Cup. You had a disastrous start, 35 for 3 if I'm not mistaken. Tilak Verma took you over the line. There have been other bilateral matches. More often than not, everyone fires, but given some days you have 30 for 3 or something like that, yet the Indian team has been putting above par total. Why? Because of their approach. So suddenly one game here or there, even if it was a loss that was to follow, I wouldn't want the Indian team to panic. I like that aggressive approach, and I would want that Indian team to continue with their aggressive approach in this particular tournament. I must say that the luck also played a bit of its part here. Two factors that have contributed to India's win, and you'll take that. One, untimely injury to Shubham, as well as you had Khan, two of their premier bowlers who got injured, and had they not been injured, there was no way Netravalkar was getting 2 more overs. He proved to be the most expensive bowler for USA, which allowed India to get that 160 sort of total. But Ali Khan as well as Shubham getting injured, untimely injury for the USA team, that then forced them to get Netravalkar, who was not in great form today, to bowl 4 overs. That could have gone any other day. They were not injured. They were bowling those overs. May not have been 160, 140 odd. Maybe USA would have fancied themselves to chase it down. That working in India's favour. And let's not forget that drop catch. Shubham dropping Surya Kumar Yadav on 15. The ball had come in his hand, caught in bowl, and then just came out. That's how the cookie crumbles. It's the rub of the green that went India's way. They rode that, and 2 points at the end of the day. They'll pocket that and move ahead. This particular league encounters, India-Pakistan, I don't know whether it will happen or not, but a sort of a reality check for the Indian team. And yes, before I conclude, kudos to the planning by the USA team as well. They can hold their heads up high with the way they planned. And I think that's the reason why that gap, as I mentioned at the start, is coming down between associate nations and full member nations, because there's so much video available, so much analysis that is happening. Look at what the USA team did. Before we criticize the aggressive batting, see the plans they came up with for Abhishek, that deep extra cover where they got him out. Very unusual fielder to have in the power play, but they had him exactly for this trap. They laid down the trap. He fell into the trap. For Rinku Singh as well, bowling outside the off stump, not letting him get some big shots, which is his natural game, frustrating him. They came prepared. That slower bounce of a Shivam Dubey got him out, took him by surprise at the first ball. Again, a good plan. For Surya Kumar Yadav also they had a plan, but he adjusted. So for every player, they came up with plans. They knew exactly what to do, and that is what troubled the Indian team. And that's why I say it's a reality check for the Indian team, that other teams are watching. They've got a few plans. Not always will the plan A work for me, so let me surprise the opposition, play a few different kind of strokes as well. And this is a realization that India can take from this game, a learning that India can take from this USA game. 2 points they've got, pocket it, move forward. Give us a like on the video if you're enjoying our content. Subscribe to Sports Today for sports related content, and keep watching.